Okay.
So it's way back there in the back. Who are they? Are. They are turbo cops?
Good evening. It is 5:30 according to Verizon time, so I'm going to call the Ottumwa Board of Health to order. We're going to please remind you to turn your cell phones to vibrate or silence, and then let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amanda, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Approve the minutes for meeting number 3 on July 18, 2017 is presented. Recommendation, approve the minutes.
Is there a
Move the
motion?
approval of the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 821 West 2nd Street. I received no objections on this item.
This is a public hearing, so good evening, Jody. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You see a picture up there of the front part of 821 West 2nd Street. It's owned by Johnny McShane Kemp. It's been placarded since October 14th, 2015 due to a fire. And Mr. Kemp submitted a repair plan December 21st, 2015 to repair the property and have it completed by June of 2016. Since that time, 3 storm windows were installed and debris was removed from the house. After the city notified the Kemps that the house would be taken to the Board of Health for condemnation, I believe that Johnny McShane Kemp wrote the city stating that he just obtained title to the house and he needed more time to repair it. The city building inspector who's been working on this property stated that he had only ever dealt with Johnny McShane Kemp when he had inspected the property throughout the time that it's been placarded. And as far as he knew, the house was owned by him or controlled by him. This property, as I said, has been placarded for nearly 2 years. Very little in the way of repair has occurred. This is the rear part of the property. You can see the hole where the fire damaged. And staff is recommending condemnation and removal of the house.
Okay, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now is the time to step up. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 821 West 2nd Street. Order prompt demolition. removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against property taxes. Recommendation, approve the condemnation of the structures located at 821 West 2nd Street.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Any questions for Jody?
I just wanted to point out one thing, Your Honor, if I may. Mr. Johnny McShane Kemp obtained title to this property specifically on March 13th, 2017. So he's had the property for a number of months.
Okay. Any other comments? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that being the business for the Board of Health, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes. Okay, I'd like to then just continue with the regular city council meeting, but we do need to take the roll again.
Councilmember Stevens?
Here.
Councilmember Strebe?
Here.
Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Mayor Lazio?
Here. I'm going to ask City Attorney Joni Keith to do the consent agenda. Amanda's having some allergic reaction or cold and pollen attack, so we'll save her voice a little bit. So Joni, you can start, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Consent addendum items. Number 1, minutes from regular meeting number 28 on August 15 and special meeting number 29 on August 22, 2017 as presented. 2, acknowledgement of July financial report and payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. 3, canvasser solicitor application for Working Man's Christmas party to solicit donations within city limits from November 1, 2017 to December 31, 2017. 4, purchase a 2018 Ford Utility Police Interceptor from Stiver Ford of Waukee, Iowa in the amount of $29,471, and the purchase and installation of the police equipment necessary for basic police functions in the amount of $11,801. 5, purchase of a 2017 Ford F-550 through the state of Iowa bid from Dewey Ford in the amount of $70,930, including all options. 6, reimbursement of expenses in the amount of $20,000 incurred by the city for payment under Iowa Code Section 403.19. 7, resolution number 184-2017, authorizing the destruction of certain records according to the Code of Iowa 2015 as amended. 8, resolution number 185-2017, setting the date for a public hearing on the intent to dispose of city-owned property located at 306 Ottumwa Street. 9, resolution number 188-2017, approving the street financial report for the fiscal year of July 2016 through June 2017 for the city of Ottumwa. 10, resolution number 190-2017, setting the date for a public hearing on the intent to dispose of city-owned property located at 2801 Romer Avenue. 11, resolution number 192-2017, setting the date for a public hearing on the intent to dispose of city-owned property located at 714 West 4th Street. 12, beer and/or liquor applications for Uncle Buck's Bar and Grill, 518 Church Street with outdoor service area, Alpine Inn, 1804 Albia Road with outdoor service area, Supermercado Cerro Grande, 311 East Main, Potros Garcia, 2804 North Court, Bubba Q's, 1110 North Quincy Avenue, Hotel Ottumwa, temporary outdoor service area, 9/15/17 and October 5/17, and Oktoberfest Committee, temporary outdoor service area, Jimmy Jones Shelter, October 4, 2017. All applications pending final inspections.
Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Move the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Item C on our agenda, I need approval for tonight's agenda, and
So
it has
moved.
been amended.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Item D, we have reports from city officers, boards, commissions, and committees, so I'd like to turn this over to City Administrator Andy Morris, and he can give us an update on some of the things he's been involved with.
All right, very well. Thank you, Mayor. The very first item you see is the report on the Fireball Run, September 27, 2017. Mr. Mayor, you may want to speak to that a little bit more fully. I believe this was discussed at the staff meeting this morning.
Okay. I would just mention to the public that Ottumwa is going to be a pass-through city for Fireball Run, which is a reality TV program, and it will be coming to Ottumwa on Wednesday, the 27th of September. They'll be here in our Central Park from 10:30 to 12:30. We're going to have a lunch in the park. It'll be hosted by Canteen Lunch, and we'll be using Dr. Pepper Snapple products for the beverages. It's a great opportunity. It is open to the public. We'd like to invite the public to come and be a part of this. It will give the city of Ottumwa some national TV coverage. If you have Amazon Prime TV at home, you can see the entire series. So we'll give you more update. There are posters being circulated, and we just want to get the word out that we'd like to have a good turnout of people at the park and enjoy us and just share with lunch and get to meet. There'll be 40 teams of people coming, and they all drive different cars, and they'll be parked on 3rd Street. And we'll want to visit with them and just give them some good old Ottumwa hospitality. So thank you very much.
Sure. Mr. Mayor, the next item, Mr. Mayor and Council, I should say, the next item on the agenda, you may see Sonia Farrell is with us this evening. Sonia is the director of the Ottumwa Public Library. As you may recall, at the previous meeting, I indicated she would be visiting with us this evening to talk about a strategic planning process that is specific to libraries statewide and also some of its ramifications for the Ottumwa Public Library. So, Mr. Mayor, at this point, I would ask you to recognize Mrs. Farrell. Thank you.
Good evening, Sonia. We're glad to have you here. You have the floor.
Thank you. Well, thank you for allowing me to come before you tonight. I wanted to come and update you, as Andy said, about our strategic planning process that we are about to undertake. But I also wanted to, since I don't come before you very often, just thank you for your continued support of our Ottumwa Public Library. We are starting a strategic planning process that we work with the State Library of Iowa. It's called Strategic Planning for Results, and it's specific to libraries. Our Southeast Area Library consultant, Becky Heil from the State Library, will work with our library to come up with our specific plan. Under Strategic Planning for Results, the Library Board of Trustees has put together a list of stakeholders in the community and invited them to participate in 2 public meetings that will take place, the first one being Thursday, September 14th at the library. At these meetings, we will, at the first meeting, we will work on a SWOT analysis in general of the community. And then at the second meeting, we will take some of those challenges that are facing our community and apply them to what the library can do for services or materials to provide to attempt to address some of those concerns. And then we will wrap that up with the Board of Trustees approving a strategic plan for the library. But since I was coming before the council tonight to talk to you about those 2 meetings and that strategic plan, I also wanted to give you an update on some of the things taking place at the library, both in the last fiscal year and some of the plans going forward. As a budget overview, you understand as well as I do that we have 2 budgets that we use. We have the operating budget, which is the majority covered by the city, as well as monies from the county, the state, and 2 major estates, the Hackworth estate and the Ballingall estate, as well as fines, fees, and donations. The bulk of what that operating budget covers is our staffing, which includes 12 staff members, 8 full-time, 4 part-time, and the building upkeep of our Carnegie Library, which is 115 years old. Actually, I think the groundbreaking was September 20th of 1902, so we're coming up on the 115th anniversary. This past summer, we had a large project of installing a new air conditioning system, which consists of 3 units, which replaced our old original air conditioning system that was installed in 1986. So far, so good on that. That was at a cost of $64,500. And we also had a dome renovation project, which was to fix a piece of broken glass on the crown of the dome. And that was covered by both the Ottumwa Public Library Foundation and a matching grant with the Legacy Foundation. In the past 5 years, the Legacy Foundation has also partnered with the Library Foundation and the Friends of the Library to fund a new microfilm machine, as well as some tuck point work that was done to the building. We also have the gift and bequest budget, which in our case covers the majority or all of our materials that we purchase, as well as most of our programming that we provide. We have 2 major estates that have given trust to the library that are annual gifts, and those both stipulated that those monies be used for material purchases. So in the day and age of electronic media and electronic books, electronic downloadable audiobooks, I cannot use any of that money for those purchases. So all of these, and they're significant gifts. So all of that is what pays for our books, our magazines, anything that is a physical material on the shelf in the library. Through other gifts like the Friends of the Library, Kiwanis Group, Laureate Guild, and other one-time memorials and gifts, that is what we pay for the programming. So I like to call that the cherry on top of all of the library services. The more we are given as far as donations, the more programming I do. I just had to turn in our annual survey for the state library for the previous fiscal year, and that I came up with the numbers that we have 57,000 physical materials in the library and 34,000 downloadable materials. Just because we have downloadable materials and that is trending doesn't mean that we stop buying the physical materials, and that is why I'm grateful that those 2 gifts were given with those stipulations. We will never not be purchasing books, materials, or physical materials to be circulated. Our overall circulation is up, which you heard me right, it is up. I haven't been able to say that before, with 104,000 approximately checkouts last year. And a great majority of that increase is in the children's area, which gives me warm, fuzzy feelings for our future, as we have had great increases in our programming. And when you have great increases in your programming, you bring the kids in. When you bring the kids in, they check out more books. We had 335 programs for children last year, and 7,500 attended. That's a 50% increase over the previous year. We had 56 programs for teens with 239 attending, and that is also a 50% increase over the past year. For adults, we had 82 programs with 1,000 attending, and our Reminisce Society programs have increased so much that we've had to move them over to the KC Hall because we don't fit in the meeting room any longer. Our public computer usage is up, as well as our Wi-Fi logins. I want to wrap up quickly here, so I just wanted to point out that for our children's programming, our children's librarian has been there now 2 years this month, and she has increased our story times to 3 per week, and they were such great attendance this last summer that she had to double those. So in addition to the 10:30 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she had to include a 9:30. We didn't advertise that. That was just for the people that are regular attendance. She told them, and we basically doubled the attendance because those folks came to the early one. And then I also wanted to point out that we had started a teen writing club. The teen age group is the hardest ones to get to come into the library, especially for programming. And our staffer, Evan Clark, had the idea of starting a teen writing club. They were going to meet once a month. There is such enthusiasm and attendance that they've decided to increase that, and they now meet twice a month. There's, I think, about 10 kids that regularly attend, and that also gives me pleasure to tell you that report. So in addition to the strategic planning process, in the next year, we will need to have some more tuck point work done. It is a 115-year-old building. And as I get the bids for that, I hope to apply for some grants because that probably won't happen until next spring or summer. We will also, in the next few weeks, be installing a building side book drop, which probably isn't a big deal to the rest of the world, but it is a big deal to us because that will mean that we won't have to come in on Sundays to check the book drop for overflows. And then we also are intending to add a foreign language section to our adult collection. We currently have Spanish language books in our children's section, and we intend to increase that to our adult section, as well as some other languages that reflect the diversity that our city is undergoing. With that, I'll undertake any questions, but other than that, that is all
Are there
I
any
have.
questions for Sonia? I would make one comment. I know you can always use volunteers,
Yes,
and so they should just,
especially in the children's programming.
so they can just contact you at the library to do that.
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yeah, just want to personally thank you, Sonia. I know for several years now you've worked at the Bridgeview book sale and been very helpful with that in May, the 3 days. And then I was curious, since you identified your 2 budgets and so forth. So the share that the library, the money that you get from that book sale, does that allow you to buy books and those types of materials then?
Yes. So officially, as a city department, that's not who is at the book sale. I'm wearing my Friends of the Library hat when I'm over there.
All right.
So the proceeds from the Pages for Pennies book sale is split 3 ways amongst the, excuse me, I have allergies too today, amongst the CVB, the Bridgeview Inc., and the Friends of the Library. So 1/3 of those proceeds come back, and 100% of the proceeds for Friends of the Library comes back in the library. So because I have these gift bequests specific for books, I tend to use Friends money more for programming. But I sometimes buy DVDs and other things that aren't necessarily books with them.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. Come back again and give us an update.
Thank you.
Andy, would you continue?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, 2 more items. The next item you see listed on your agenda, and there's an additional one that I penciled in that I want to make mention to the council. Staffing recommendations I will bring those forth at the next meeting on the 19th of this month. And as you know, that will speak to both staffing in the police and the fire department. So I will bring that forward in accordance with council's wishes. It's my understanding there are some representatives of the law enforcement community that may want to speak tonight. Mayor, I'll defer to you. One last item, if I may just add, and that is council may recall the formation. I know Councilman Rowe led the charge on this, and that is a fireworks committee. And that committee has met. It's my understanding they're developing recommendations, and we should be hearing those relatively soon. And then when they are, that will, of course, be conveyed to Mayor and City Council. So with that, Mr. Mayor, unless Council has any additional questions, again, it's my understanding some members of the law enforcement community may want to speak tonight, so I shall turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would call on Michael Siren to step to the podium.
I've got some handouts for you guys. I don't know if you want me to bring them up so you can look at them while I'm speaking.
Give them to Bob and let Bob bring them up, and you can go ahead and start your presentation.
My name is Michael Siren. I'm an investigator with the Ottumwa Police Department. I've been here 8 years now. I know we spoke at the last meeting. Obviously, we got across the point that we're short. We just kind of wanted to give you a few ideas on what being short actually, the trickle-down effect and the cause and effect of that. Once everybody gets their paperwork, I'll just start on the first page. That's just some of the information you've already been given on the breakdown of our comparable cities. You'll look at the bottom at our sworn 39 people, 19 patrolmen. Our shift minimums are 3 and 4. Obviously, that's vastly below everyone else. There's a few, you'll take note on the shift type on the right. The people that we are comparable to on the 2 from the bottom, they work 10-hour shifts. So also in that, they're going to get some additional overlap, which to us would mean a couple hours to catch up on paperwork, things like that. The next 4 pages, I simply just copied off our first and third shift patrol schedule. I could have done the second shift also. Essentially, it's the same thing that these two are going to reflect. Every point on those schedules where you see essentially down below a gray mark, that is going to call for overtime. So on most of these days, especially the weekends, sometimes there's two officers on each patrol shift that are going to need overtime. Just some takeaway from that. One officer on his next 10 days at work, he's going to work 7 of 10 12-hour shifts. Another takeaway, this Saturday, I was advised this today by a patrol supervisor. Every single person that worked on Saturday, first, second, third shift, worked a 12-hour shift. Every single person. And again, when we get into another point on the weekend overtime, when there's two people that are holding over, and then the next shift has 2 people holding over, there are days that we've run into where there's just simply not enough people to cover all the overtime. Because if you say have 2 first shift officers, one person has to come in early, one person has to stay in late, and then that next shift has another part of overtime, there's just not enough people. Additionally, obviously the trickle down effect of all this being short, people are just carrying a lot more cases. They're not going to be able to adequately get things done. Investigator Harris is going to talk about this some more. Both of us being in investigations division. Unfortunately, we just lost our third investigator. That third investigator has already put in his 2 weeks in to leave. Additionally, with another officer put his 2 weeks in. We are 2 officers on injury. So me being the second investigator, I'm not that far from being back on patrol. Again, Investigator Harris is going to go over what that's going to do. But we're pulling from every angle, and we just, again, wanted to hit on, yes, we're short, but this is what happens when we're short. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay. I think we'll go ahead and let Steve make his presentation, and they can ask if there are any questions. Steve Harris?
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Steve Harris. I'm a detective with the Ottumwa Police Department. I've been serving with the city for 10 years now. In fact, yesterday was my 10-year anniversary. About 7.5 of those years have been in the investigation division, and I've been working major crimes in this city since that time. I've been fortunate enough that when I was appointed to this position, I got a lot of specialized training on how to more effectively solve these major crimes that face our city on a regular basis. As most of you know, the city has its fair share amount of felony level crimes against persons and property here in town. During my tenure as an investigator, I've seen everything from nonviolent stuff like identity theft, all the way up through multiple murders and everything in between. One of the things I also want to hit on is that we see a staggering amount of sexually motivated crimes that require a lot of time in this city. So far this year, the investigations division has taken on 105 cases. 50 of those have been sexually motivated crimes that we've worked. Every one of these cases take a staggering amount of man hours, because it's not only what you do investigate and what you do find, it's what you don't do that will bite you when you go to trial and when you try to put someone away for the things that they've done. Some of these cases take years to come to fruition, and I can tell you all of these cases that we work deeply affect the victims of this city and their families tremendously. Until recently, the Ottumwa Police Department had 3 full-time investigators. As Siren just mentioned, we just lost one this weekend that's been moved back to patrol, and I fully expect we'll probably lose another one if we lose any more officers here in the near future. That cuts our man hours and our staff by 33% at this time. And if we lose another investigator, it'll be more. I've been down to 1 investigator just by myself, and it's daunting. It's very difficult to keep up. I can tell you that we're never caught up, even with 3 men. I've been with 4 men. We're never caught up. We're constantly prioritizing to try to figure out what we need to do right now and what can wait until after the most recent emergency or deadline has passed. I can tell you right now, the Ottumwa Police Department has hit a critical mass in the amount of officers that are available to cover patrol. That affects us drastically. As we lose staff that are trained in major cases, the experience that we gain and the training we get is very specialized and extremely important in being able to solve some of these effectively. Whenever we lose personnel, we still get the cases. So even when we're always behind with 3, we're just buried at 2 and 1. This results in cases sitting in limbo for much longer extended periods of time until they can be fully worked, because oftentimes we can't charge until we get the proper amount of probable cause, or we've went down every avenue. The victims of major crimes in this city and the public in general are absolutely impacted by how effectively we can work these crimes and how quickly we can work these crimes. In addition, patrol officers are more often forced to follow up with incidents that would normally come to us because we're just too busy to take on some of these non-essential cases that we would normally take. And I'm sure it's not a surprise for me to tell you that oftentimes the perpetrators that are responsible for our most violent, sexual, and substantial crimes commit more than one crime. They're the people who go out there and commit multiple heinous crimes. The sooner we can solve these and get them charged and off the street, the less major crime this city has. So all I want to put out to you guys is that I'm not affected by the hours like our officers are. Our officers are getting burnt out. I'm just simply being overwhelmed with the amount of important cases that we work. And so that's what I want to put out to you. Increasing the amount of officers to cover patrol shifts is essential in allowing the investigations division to have the needed personnel to solve the major crimes of this city in a more efficient manner, resulting in a quicker arrest of perpetrators of major crimes. So.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And I've followed you personally for a long time. I know how hard you work and do a good job for our city. So thank you very much for your dedication to the police department.
Thank you.
Any questions for either Michael or Steve? Okay, we'll have a report and a recommendation from our city staff on the 19th. Item E, we always give citizens a chance to comment on anything that's on the agenda. So if there's something you want to bring up about an item on the agenda, now is your time to step up to the microphone. I don't think we have any, I don't see any cards here. Anybody? Okay, we'll move on then. Item F.
Bid report and contract award to New Horizons Enterprises for asbestos removal at 813 Lee Avenue and 817 Lee Avenue. Recommendation, accept the bid and award the contract to New Horizons Enterprises, amount of $17,685.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening again, Jody. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. 813 and 817 Lee were placarded houses that the City Council condemned, and we accepted bids for the asbestos removal and the demolition. We received 2 bids for asbestos removal and 4 bids for demolition. Tim Skinner Trucking was the best bid for demolition in the amount of $9,073.60. Dan Larson was the lowest asbestos bid, but he did not want to do just the asbestos work. He wanted both the asbestos and the demolition. He was not the lowest bid for demolition. So I talked to the second asbestos bidder to see if he would be willing to just do asbestos, and he was. It's a higher bid than Dan Larson's, but New Horizons Enterprises is willing to perform the asbestos work at $17,685, and then we could award the demolition bid to Tim Skinner Trucking.
Okay. Okay, any questions for Jody? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Appreciate your working with those people to get that done, Jody.
Thank you.
Motion to elect Bob Myers, Mayor Pro Tem, in the mayor's absence, and Skip Stevens, council member, to be the panel members for the objection to nomination petition hearing of Larry Clayball. Recommendation, approve the nomination of Bob Myers and Skip Stevens.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
And I think at this point, I'll call on Joni Keith to give us a little background and tell you what we're up to.
Thank you, Your Honor. This afternoon at a little after 1 p.m., Nick Davis filed an objection to the candidacy of Larry Claybaugh for mayor. Based upon that, we're required to follow state law as to having a hearing within 24 hours of the objection being filed. And the hearing is held before a panel of three. Those three individuals are the city clerk, the mayor, and a council member voted upon by the council. Based upon that, we felt there was good cause to add that to the agenda, even though there was no 24-hour notice. So I apologize to the media here. This motion is to elect basically Bob Myers to be the mayor pro temp to replace Mayor Lazio, who will be out of town tomorrow, and then Skip Stevens as the council member to be on this panel with Amanda Valent, our city clerk, to have this hearing with Mr. Claybaugh as to whether he has a valid candidacy. And the issue before them is whether he is a resident of the city of Ottumwa.
Are there any questions for Joni? Okay, then let's take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 191, 2017, approving change order number 1 for the downtown facade improvements project in the 100 and 200 blocks of East Main. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 191, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Jody, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a number of properties downtown that are part of this change order number 1. And basically, it reduces the contract amount for the 13 properties participating in the facade program by a total of $370,923.66, with the new contract amount being $1,070,739.34. All of this was part of the value engineering that was done after the bids came in. And the architect, the property owners, Main Street, and Area 15 all worked together to try to find ways in which we could cut the costs and bring it more in line with the budget. So I think there'll probably be more change orders, but this will probably be your largest one.
Are there any questions for Jody?
Mr. Mayor, just Jody, a point of clarification. We talked about this in the staffing. I think you indicated the approximately 1.1 million. That's going to, again, to be clear, that's going to be coming out of CIP. Is that correct?
Well, the city's portion of this $1,070,000 is coming out of CIP. There are a lot of participants who are putting money into the pool to fund this. So it's $500,000 from CDBG, it's $250,000 from the Legacy Foundation, Ottumwa Economic Development in Wapello County put money into the kitty, and then the property owners themselves are also participating. But the city's share is coming out of the CIP program.
And one more time, just for clarification, the city share, that corpus.
The city's share at this point, if the Main Street Challenge grant is received, will be $175,000. If that challenge grant is not received, then that amount will be reduced by a little over $23,000, because one of the buildings that would participate if the challenge grant is received will drop out of the program and reduce the costs.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions for Jody? I think this has been a long project and appreciate the involvement we've had with all the other partners.
And it's just getting started.
No further questions, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Resolution number 194, 2017, awarding the contract for the Water Pollution Control Facility Secondary Anaerobic Digester Interior Piping Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 194, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Cam. You're on the docket, so speak up.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project will complete the necessary piping repair and replacement to get the secondary digester back into operation. 4 bid packets were sent out, 2 were received back. You should have the tallies of the bids there. WRH of South Amana, Iowa was the low bidder at $64,400.
Any questions for Cam? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cam.
Ordinance number 3127, 2017, amending the Code of Ordinances, Municipal Code of the City of Ottumwa, Iowa, by repealing Chapter 20 in its entirety and enacting a substitute in lieu thereof. Recommendation, review and forward any comments or concerns to staff prior to September 19, 2017.
Is there a recommendation?
We don't need a motion on this, it's just review, right, Jody?
That's right.
Thank you.
Make yourselves aware of that then. All right. At this point, we also give public a chance to bring up any issue that, are you still?
I would like to make a couple comments
Please go
about the ordinance. I wanted to say that this ordinance is going to adopt the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code. And so as you look through the ordinance, that's what section 20-2 does. And then we change, we make amendments to the International Property Maintenance Code. So we add some things, we subtract other things, which is what you'll see in section 20-3. And then we have 20-4, which is inspection and enforcement. That's where we brought back in a number of our current housing code provisions. That's where the inspection board of review is. That's where the placarding procedures are located. And those things work for us, so we didn't see any reason to change those. We wanted to make sure that they were part of our new code. And then the next section, we talk about permitting and how you get a permit, a rental permit, and how inspections are performed. So that's the gist of what's in here. We haven't heard any other comments from landlords other than the comments that we received the last time that we presented it to the Landlords Association. And if there's anything that the council is concerned about or has comments about or questions, if you would just contact us prior to when we're going to make the changes and bring it back to you for your first reading. We'll bring it back on September 19th. And so if we could have your comments by September 14th, so we have a chance to make some adjustments if we need to. And then the resolution for fees will be at the last reading. And unless there's some desire on the part of the council, I would recommend that we do 3 readings of this ordinance. I would like it to become effective January 1, 2018. So we have a clear point of beginning with the new code and a stopping point for the old one. And we'll still need to, we'll have a lot of inspections that haven't been completely finalized out the end of the year. So we'll have to apply our old code standards to those and then move forward with any new inspections come January 1. That would also be the point in time that we would begin the new fees. So we would send out the rental bills January 1 with the new fee schedule attached.
So you're really asking the council to review this and give you comments by September 14th.
Yes,
And then you've already visited with the landlord, so they know this is coming.
yes, they do.
So I think council, this is an opportunity to give some good feedback to Jody and her staff. And we've been talking about this for a long time, so we want to be sure we get something done. Andy, you have a
Yes,
comment?
Mr. Mayor, just one point of clarification, Jody. I know we talked about this at the staff meeting this morning, and that is the language as it relates to the inspection board review. And I'm summarizing the notes that I read through. Continue to utilize the current Ottumwa Housing Code to address placarded homes, and would certainly take guidance. But in addition to that, it's my understanding the inspection board review, if you could just put in context for us a little bit about the inspection board review, because as you know, placarded homes is a big issue for us. I'm looking at, I believe it's 20-4, the section you're speaking to right now. If it would be all right, Mayor, if Jody could just explain, quite frankly, the inspection board review and quite frankly, their purview as it relates to placarded homes, yet still keeping the corpus of the International Property Maintenance Code.
Well, the inspection board of review, they're the appeals board. And so if a person receives a notice from the health department or the inspection department or the fire department, and they don't believe that the inspector has correctly interpreted the code, for instance, that would be something that someone could appeal to the inspection board of review. And they would hear that appeal. They would decide whether the inspector had correctly interpreted the code. They could decide whether time could satisfy the issues that a resident might have. If it meant giving them 2 months or 3 months to adequately address something, the inspection board of review could look at a time extension. But the inspection board of review looks at the appeal as it relates to whatever code is in place. So for instance, once the International Property Maintenance Code has been adopted, then the inspection board of review will hear appeals about interpretations of the International Property Maintenance Code and all the provisions that are going to be part of our housing code. It'll be made up of the same people, in the sense that we always have a plumber, an electrician, somebody who does heating and cooling work, someone who is a contractor, a building contractor, and then a person who is a rental property owner. And so the names might change, but those types of trades are the ones that we have on the board, so that they have some sort of experience with the conditions that somebody might be appealing.
But, Mr. Mayor, again, one more question. Just to be clear, though, so we're going to maintain, as you said, that inspection board review, and I believe that is set forth not only in 20-4, but I think even the code provisions in, what is it, 20-3. Based on the conversation we had this morning, Jody, you were comfortable with that. Putting words in your mouth, please say so. But you were more comfortable in utilizing that inspection board review because it kept the integral part, quite frankly, of the follow-up and the process you go through. That's not to say the International Property Maintenance Code doesn't speak to that. Our code was a little bit more clear, and I think that's why staff is recommending that be retained in the ordinance when it comes to council.
Exactly. And I think that our current housing code, it elaborates quite a bit on the inspection board of review, on the process, and on the placarding process. It's pretty detailed about sending notices and how long we give people, and what you could actually have a house placarded for instance. I think we did use a few provisions out of the International Property Maintenance Code for that were not already in our housing code, but I think our housing code, as far as the placarding and the the Inspection Board of Review. I think that language was very good, and that's why we wanted to use it in place of what was in the International Property Maintenance Code.
And Mr. Mayor, to be clear, the other provisions in the code, again, which Jody will bring forward, I think it is fair to say the International Property Maintenance Code does speak much clearer to items such as building materials, maintenance of site, quite frankly. In addition to that, certain materials that can be used and even burned on site. That's another provision that actually is, thank goodness, removed from the code. Again, I appreciate all of Jody's work that she has done on this, and hopefully we'll put something in front of council that you will find digestible. The staff is strongly recommending this is endorsed. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions for Jody about anything she shared? I think, Jody, the supreme compliment today, and I haven't had a chance to visit with you, I've been out of the office this afternoon. A gentleman stopped in unannounced today. You had dealt with him several years ago, and he was very tough on you. And he said, but I want you to know that Jody does a good job. I've changed my opinion since I've seen some of the work she's done around town. He was quick to point out a couple of places that need to be bulldozed or taken down. But I thought the fact that he was fair-minded about that was a real compliment to you. So I just want to pass that on to you, that he really recognized your work, and I think that's a tribute to our staff. So thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other?
Just a question. As with any other code, if we see an item that's not working like we think it should, we can always change that as we go.
That's right. And we should maybe be a little quicker to do that. I think that in some cases we get entrenched in these ordinances and the code, and we don't look at it again with the idea that we can make it better, and make it workable.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Jody? All right. Thank you very much, Jody. We'll give you comments by the 14th.
Okay. Thank you.
Item K, if there's anybody in the audience that wants to bring up anything of city business that's not on the agenda, you're welcome to do that now. I see Mr. Zessinger standing up, so Fred, come on up. Identify yourself, please.
Yes, Fred Zessinger, Executive Director, Main Street Ottumwa. And I just wanted to come forward. I haven't been up for a little bit, and I just want to give you a couple quick updates. With a lot of the changes in downtown Ottumwa, we've seen a lot of new apartments, quite a few new jobs this year, and of course, construction continues. One update being that the facades did start today. So want to let everybody know to make sure that they come down and check that out, but also come into those businesses that are being worked on while most times are maybe a little tougher than the normal for some of those businesses. The second thing being, with all the changes in downtown, the Main Street Design Committee and the Economic Vitality Committee, it's been concerned with them about parking. And I know that you've had businesses as well come forward to you and express those concerns. So Main Street Ottumwa has hired the Regional Planning Commission, Area 15 Regional Planning Commission, to help us do a parking study of downtown on the north side, with the goals being to assess parking availability, accessibility, and safety in the Ottumwa Main Street Business District and make recommendations for improvements. The parking study will encompass not only the Main Street district from Marion to Jefferson, from the river to 4th Street, but actually expand out from that to Wapello and College Streets. And then the process being that the study will utilize online surveys to gather the opinions of business owners, employers, and downtown visitors related to parking. And those are actually live now on the Main Street Ottumwa website, mainstreetattumwa.com. On the homepage there, we have one for property and business owners, one for employees and residents, and then one for visitors and customers. So if anybody wants to log on to that, they can take those surveys immediately, and we will be advertising that here in the next few days. The RPC will also develop maps for the parking facilities in the downtown, showing numbers of spaces and types of parking. RPC will conduct a parking audit, will involve collecting and analyzing parking counts for the study area. We'll be using, we were talked about using volunteers for this, but actually RPC has been able to, or will be able to use a drone. So I want to make sure people know that if they see a drone flying around downtown, that's what it's doing. Counts will be done during daytime and evening hours and on weekdays and weekends to obtain an overall picture of the parking usage. And then finally, the findings will be analyzed and provided in a final report in a timeline starting immediately. Actually, I have my economic vitality meeting tomorrow, and as I stated, the surveys are already online. But we will be doing the parking counts in September, October, and November, and possibly December. And then that final report should be due to Main Street no later than January 5th. So. Anyway, I've got some information to share with you, the maps of the project area and just kind of an overview of the project that I'll leave or have somebody pass out to you guys, but also wanted to make the public aware of that. So thank you.
Okay,
Questions?
thank you, Fred. I think, Andy, it'd be appropriate to comment that we did appoint or have a parking committee, but after discussing with you, we wanted to wait until RPC got through with their.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for pointing that out. In fact, initially, we talked about at that meeting, our thought was to have recommendations in the fall timeframe. I believe, Holly can correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe the discussion we had this past week was probably after the first of the year, January timeframe. To that end, I've notified all of the members, thank you. I've notified all of the members that are on that committee that the meeting is going to be in the January timeframe so we can have the results of that study instead of the fall. So everyone's been informed and that will be going forward.
Okay, very good. Any other public comment?
I don't have a comment on that, but
You want to identify yourself, please?
Okay. Mike Crowder, 216 Woodbine, Ottumwa, Iowa. And I'd like to have put on the agenda of getting Woodbine Street from West Street to Wapello and from Wapello to Clinton repaved, blacktopped. And you're not talking about a whole long area. The mayor's been up, Skip's been up, looked at it over that, but you're talking probably maybe 3 blocks total. I've lived up there. I bought the house in 1975. They've just filled the potholes down then. And I think in 1982, Skip might be able to help me on this. They put the sewer in, come up through Harold's Branch, tore the street all up. They said in 83 they'd be having to re-blacktop it. They never did ever come. And the only thing that's been done since 1975 is they just threw blacktop here and there. They did put pea gravel down, oil and pea gravel down, I think probably 85 or 86, and that's all. And now we've got pothole weathers on the south side of the street from my driveway down a little ways. There's probably a rut about that deep in the blacktop, and down to the bottom of the west end at the curve, it's all washing out underneath. And then on the north side of Woodbine, halfway down, I stopped cutting the trees out of the street. They're up about this tall and about this much of it, all the way down.
Okay.
So if I can get that put on the agenda, I appreciate it.
We'll take a look at it and refer it to our Public Works Department.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other public comment? I'd like to make a couple of comments. Obviously, this weekend, most of us received tax bills in the mail, and I've had a number of people walk in today just complaining and concerned about the tax reassessment. And I just want to say that I've referred them to the county because that's a county process. We did our update. It was the first time it had been updated in, I think, 35 years. So there's going to be some equalization. Some are going to go up, some are going to go down. But people are really concerned right now. So I just want you to know, if you have somebody, send them to the county treasurer and let them talk to the treasurer over there. We can't do anything about that here. A group of us will be out of town tomorrow on city business. I also want you to know that we got a spot on the IDOT, Iowa Department of Transportation website for the air show, which is unusual. We had several comments and they were very complimentary. Apparently there were several of them there. And then I know two of our staff were in Kansas City last week, and the FAA were totally impressed with the air show. Made some very positive comments to Chris Cobbler and JD Wheaton. So again, I think we hit a home run, and it was a great effort. And I again want to thank publicly, first of all, our city staff, and secondly, all the volunteers who helped out. Just a great community effort, and a great family activity. And last but not least, I think it's important as we try to do recognize staff who do a great job for the city. Just a couple days ago, I received a letter from the Iowa State Extension and Outreach Office, state and local government programs. And I'll just read a couple of sentences of it, but they want to thank the City Council for supporting the attendance of our staff at the Iowa Municipal Professionals Academy. This is primarily for city clerks and finance officers and administrative staff. So we would like to recognize Amanda Valent for her participation in the academy. It reflects on the city that we have staff who are getting continuing education, and I think we all know that Amanda does a great job for us. So I just wanted to recognize Amanda tonight for that, and that comes from Cindy Kendall. And for those of you, Cindy Kendall is a former finance person for the city of Marshalltown, and she also teaches half-time at Iowa State. So I put a lot of credence in her her letter. So again, thank you very much for representing the city well.
Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the city?
Your Honor, I'd have a comment here.
Sure.
Just kind of piggyback on what you said about the taxes. I know there's a lot of people that have seen their bills go up, and I've received a few phone calls too. And I just want to make sure people are clear that city taxes and tax levies have not gone up. That's strictly based on the assessed value of the home. Tax levies, as far as I know, stayed the same since this last budget year. So I know it's been a misconception out there, and it seems like, people get quite upset with the city, and rightly so, when taxes change. But that is a county issue, and we haven't, like you said, hadn't reassessed that for 30 years. That might have been something to do rather than wait 30 years and pile it on everybody. So it's unfortunate, but it is part of the process. It needs to be done. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Okay.